Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Monday live stream. So I have a question before we start. You can put that in the comments section. Do you feel bored? Do you feel like as things are chopping sideways that there's something else to be done? Do you think there's maybe some better ROI and things to look at? Well, today you're in the right place. We're going to take a look at the different options that we could potentially have. So what I want to do is just take a look at stocks, crypto, ROI, how long things take, and if we're actually missing something. Or I think there's actually a sweet spot of stocks that are related to crypto. So today is Monday, July 7th, and we can see that this is the S&P 500. And overall time, it's been a pretty steady indicator of actually a nice return on investment, 732% going back pre-2000. And we can see that it's been doing pretty good. And actually, if you take a look at the last 5 days or so, the S&P 500 hit an all-time high. So is this a great time to get into like the S&P 500? Debatable. I mean, as time have you seen right here over, let's say like a year, 5 years and max, not too shabby, quite honestly. But if you take a look today, like what's going on? Well, things go up, things go down. This isn't looking too great. Let me refresh this. Maybe it's still in the negative. And the question is why? Well, it's because of the volatility that is Donald J. Trump. And this isn't a political channel. I'm just telling you, this is probably part of the reason. And it looks like Trump has just sent out tariff letters or deals with different world powers, being Japan and Korea being one of them. And then also he put this out, any country aligning themselves to the anti-American policies of BRICS will be charged an additional 10% tariff. So once we figure out these tariffs, maybe things will be smooth sailing, but that's not the whole focus of today. The focus of today is to talk about return on investments and not getting it right every time. I don't know if you know this guy. This is Warren Buffett, head of Berkshire Hathaway, and he's been around for quite some time. Berkshire Hathaway, matter of fact, 1955, I believe. Then Warren Buffett took the helm in 1965. Crazy, right? 1965, Warren Buffett, head of Berkshire Hathaway. And during that time, he's had some winners and he's had some losers. Now, everybody looks at Warren Buffett like he's the greatest of all time. And it is actually a pretty good assessment. However, you may notice that the biggest holdings that he has was not around in 1965, Apple. And it's a major component of the diversification of that fund that is Berkshire Hathaway. You know when he got Apple? It was in 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. And from that time, they've just been adding and adding and adding. And before that, Warren Buffett said, I didn't really understand the whole process. And now pretty much I get it as far as like why Apple's so great. He said the same thing about Google and Amazon, and that's actually made up a big piece. So we can see that for you who are investing right now, you don't have to get everything right. You just have to have a couple of winners, and that's pretty much it. So we've seen the winners at Berkshire Hathaway. What about the big losers? Well, over time, you've had stuff like this, ConocoPhillips. Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway invested heavily in Phillips in 2008 when oil and gas prices were high. Subsequent collapse in energy prices led to substantial losses. Paramount Global exited its position in Paramount Global had a significant loss. Energy Future Holdings, they went bankrupt in 2014, and this was a loss of almost $1 billion for Berkshire Hathaway. And then Dexter Shoe Company in 1993, they bought for $433 million. And it went to zero, became worthless. So if you think to yourself like, man, I just haven't picked the right ones and I'm not really doing too great, it's very boring just shopping sideways. Remember, not even the greatest can get it right. And you might miss some opportunities like Warren did as well. Amazon and Google. Buffett expressed regret for not investing in these tech giants earlier, meaning he didn't fully understand their business models at the time. And if we kind of scroll down here, as far as like some of the bigger losers, he got into Amazon, but a little late. The 2025 return was negative, almost 12%. Amazon will probably bounce back as part of their portfolio. But I'm just saying, not everybody's going to get it right. So the question I had was this. Let's take a look at stocks and just see how they would compare to just different things that we could dollar cost average. And I think one of the biggest disappointments so far has been Ethereum. And I'm going to show you how Ethereum actually beats a lot of these stocks that we could actually get into. So let's take the darling, the big one, NVIDIA. And if you had invested into NVIDIA back when no one really was investing into it in 2018. And let's just say you put $100 a week, just $100 a week. And you did that until, today, 2025. You'd invested $38,000 and you would have done essentially a 9x to 385,000. Sounds pretty great, right? Sounds great. But how many of us could say that this is the one? NVIDIA, this is the one. Could it actually go up? Yeah, I could see actually investing into this, but I don't know if you're going to keep having these monstrous gains moving forward. So what about another stock? Let's take Tesla. Everybody loves Tesla, right? Elon Musk. Well, some people hate him because of Doge now. Then other people hate him because he's trying to start a third political party. Regardless, how about his company? Well, if you invested it back in 2018, when it was kind of getting off the ground, you'd invested $38,100 a week. And of course, this was like the big play, right? You wouldn't even have made a 5x, $38,000 to $208,000 for $100 a week, a 5x of whatever you put in, 447%, which is good, right? But again, look how long you'd have to go and what you'd have to do. And this is like, I'm cherry picking the best stocks that are out there, quite honestly. How about this one? Amazon, which is one of the dogs for Warren Buffett. Again, 2018, not a bad time. Investing $100 a week. And it's been a pretty great one. It's been part of the S&P 500, been part of the Mag 7. And we can see that even today, you wouldn't even doubled your money. If you would have invested $38,000, it's only $59,000. That's the big one. That's Amazon. How about this one? How about Microsoft? I almost said MicroStrategy, which we'll take a look at in a second. Again, $38,000 since 2018. You would have barely doubled your money. Congratulations. Over, 8 years? All right, not too bad. And then also, the thing that I always thought about was this. Well, if all these stocks that we're getting into, I only invest in things that I really know about, right? I mean, I use Amazon, so I used to actually do drop shipping in Amazon just for like a hobby. So I invested a little in Amazon, didn't do too great. I invested a little bit into Tesla and also Airbnb, didn't do too hot because I do all those things. But I've been investing into Circle and MicroStrategy, and I got to tell you, because Circle, if you aren't familiar, is the company that is for USDC, which just went public about a month and a half ago or so. And just in that short amount of time, about $100 a week, you're up 36%. That's not too bad, especially if we take a look at a lot of the altcoins that are out there. We've only been losing money. So Circle is like one of those, I feel it's like one of those sweet spots you can get between like the stocks that people say, I get into this, and then the crypto companies. I take a look at Circle and stable coins and payments. That's the next big thing. So maybe that could be something you could look into. Then also, how about MicroStrategy? MicroStrategy didn't do anything until, well, there was 2 times it did something. In the .com bubble, when everybody just put money into whatever. And then when they started to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, somewhere around 2020. And because of that, if you had invested in that time, $100 a week since 2018, well, you wouldn't have made any gains right here, I'll tell you that. But if you had kept doing that throughout the whole time, you'd invested $38,000 and your portfolio would be worth what? $613,000. Now, is there more gains to be had? I think so. But that's up for you to decide. And so I take a look at that. I'm like, maybe that's the sweet spot. The stocks that are related to the crypto companies. So let's break this down. How about a little Ethereum? Because, I mean, Ethereum's been kind of a dog this whole time. It's been really not doing too much. Now we've got Tom Lee from Fundstrat coming out and saying, hey, we're going to be the MicroStrategy of Ethereum and put it onto the balance sheet. So maybe that could turn a corner. Also, Robinhood, they are using Arbitrum, which is a layer 2 solution. And Robinhood's a very big company, let's be honest. And that stock's doing just great. Another one to take a look at. So I just thought about this. Well, if I was doing Ethereum back in, oh, this isn't right. Let's go to 2018. Same time frame. Let's go even farther back. January 1st. Okay. So if you're doing the same thing, $100 a week, going from there, pretty good. You invested, again, $38,000, $39,000. You'd have 80 ETH, and that's the current value of $203,000. Now, I don't know what's going to happen when everybody starts to put Ethereum on their balance sheet, if that's what they do. A couple of companies have been putting Bitcoin and Ethereum and BNB and XRP on their balance sheet. So we'll see. So just right now, you're up. I mean, you're doing a 4x. Let's move forward. Let's go back to 2020. Because 2018 is kind of cheating, let's be honest. Because 2018, it had a nice little run on 2017. So let's go to 2020, January 1st. Not bad. You would have invested roughly 5 years and almost double what you put in, 28,000. Oh no, I take that back. You'd invested 28,000 into 80,000. Very nice. So it'd been like 3x. 6 times 3, yeah, I'll take it. Almost. 2.75, something like that. So not too bad. And that's just Ethereum. And everybody's been complaining about that for quite some time. Again, I think it could still do some really good. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Now, this is why I think it is like the best of all the worlds. Because if you just invested $100 a week in 2020, January 1st, you'd have, I mean, you're up 3x, almost 4x. And if you go back even farther, 2018, I mean, look at this. You would have invested $39,000 and you have $297,000 so far. So the longer that you're in, I think the best that you're doing. What about, how about XRP? 431%. Let's just stick this at 2020. Because 2018 is kind of cheating, in my opinion. Because the prices were so low. So again, 400%. How about BNB? Oh man, I broke it. All right. BNB, 600, you would have invested 28,000, 676%. Not too bad. What about, how about Solana? This one been really cheating. 27,000, you'd have 605,000. That's a good one. And then how about Cardano? Not too great. And the price is still sucking, but 152%. But again, if you think about, you compare that to say the different prices that you do for like the ones we took a look at as far as stocks, besides NVIDIA, you're still beating out everybody. And the S&P 500 is historically speaking between 7-8% up to 20%, sometimes even 0. So I'm going to stick around with crypto, digital assets. I'm going to put a lot more funds into Bitcoin. And that's where I'm going for now. Again, there are certain things that you can do. You can take a look at a lot of different options that are out there. But for me, I think I'm just going to stick to what I know, and that would be crypto. And lastly, before we get into the Q&A section, we talked about why Kraken. Kraken, the exchange. And on that video, we talked about airdrops. I want to say just thanks, Kraken, who know this isn't a paid advertisement, although they really should. DMs are open, Kraken. I want to say thanks for the Bitcoin dog airdrop, which gave me a whopping $10, which is pretty, I'll take it, because it pays for Kraken Plus, which that means there's no fees up to $10,000. So, which is only $5 a month. So again, looks like these guys are doing what they say they're doing. Check out that video, and that's it for today. So look, if you like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Now we'll get into a little Q&A. We'll answer all your questions, and we'll go from there. Let's see. What do we got? Lucky enough to not have any bills. That's pretty great. Bog, I like that. Good afternoon. Man, Bear Cow is hoping to pay off everything this year. Might have to settle for half. You know, remember, if we take a look back to the last bull run, we had a nice April run-up in 2021. And then, of course, big collapse. I mean, some people say it was a pullback. Some people say it was a collapse, whatever you want to say, call it. And then, of course, November was really blow-off top time. So we still got time. I still think that we could have some things move in the right direction. Again, if we get this tariff moving in the right place as far as what Trump wants to do, and if maybe we can get a couple of Jerome Powell to actually cut some rates, maybe just once, even though twice people think it's going to happen. And then, of course, the quantitative easing is happening. Now we have to reduce the quantitative tightening. And all those things, and maybe we just get one peace agreement between the wars that are happening as far as macro goes, I think we should be just fine, because we're doing a lot of things that are going on with crypto. Nation states, we've got Bitcoin Strategic Reserve, we've got, companies being public, and then stable coins and the different settlement options that are out there. So I still think we can do pretty well. Let's see. Good afternoon. Hello from Northeast. It is not bad. Bucks, this cycle is easy too. Just buy Bitcoin regularly and go watch Severance. Actually, pretty good one. Let's see. It's only got a case of the Mondays. Yeah. Where did I miss it? Oh, that's why. Jesus says, Rob, are you concerned that ETF custodians like BlackRock or Fidelity might end up centralizing too much Bitcoin or Ethereum? Yes, but not much we can really do about that. It seems like there's a push for people to get into ETFs. And it's because, you really think about it, and we've talked about this many a time on the show, all the different scams that are happening, all the different wrench attacks. And it's not so much the wrench attacks, people coming into your house or finding you on vacation, kidnapping you and beating the tar out of you for your Bitcoin or whatever cryptos that you have. I think it's also more of the constant scams. I just did a tweet. I'll show you. About 20 minutes before the show started, I was contacted by this individual right here at this number in Glendale, California. And the first thing he said was, hello, is this Robbie Wolf? And I'm like, this is Robbie Wolf. And they said, oh, great, we got you. My name is Sven, or whatever his name was, from Coinbase Fraud Detection. And I just wanted to let you know that there's some kind of suspicious activity on your account. I was like, oh, well, that's awful. He's like, yeah, if you could just, I'm going to send you a code. If you could just read that to me. And I was like, you know what? F you. And I hung up the phone because that's a scam. So these types of things are why people are going to the ETFs. I don't want to deal with this trash. And then people say, well, it's just easy. You can just sell the ETF and then send people the money. The problem with sending people money is that's why they have KYC and AML, and it's such a pain in the A for the banks. They have to put it into their account somewhere, and banks can actually stop these funds moving around. But if you want to send somebody Bitcoin, no one's stopping that train, and it's super easy. And now if I'm getting these types of messages, I guarantee hundreds of thousands of other people across the world are getting the same thing. And not just for Coinbase, but all the different cryptos. So am I concerned about it? Yes, but they're really forcing us into this situation. And I actually have a good amount of my crypto on custodial services from iTRUST. And again, those are the same custodial services that BlackRock and MicroStrategy use. And then I've got the rest in multiple ledgers and multiple tangems. And there's going to come a point where I'm just going to sell everything. So I don't want to deal with it. Anyhow, it's because you never answer. Man, because I answer if I recognize the number. And I usually it comes up as like scam or spam, possible spam, or whatever it says on the phone. I usually don't, but I was like, maybe it's somebody I know. And I just picked up and I'm like, it's one of you guys. RB says, iTRUST will feed it out. No, that's not true, RB. That's not true. So for this custodial service, remember, you're getting, first of all, I have a Roth IRA, a retirement account. And it's 1%. And you're like, 1%? That's ridiculous. Yeah. Well, I have Bitcoin in there. And when Bitcoin goes to $1 million or $10 million or whatever else it is, and I want to pay a damn cent in taxes of capital gains, I'm okay with 1% as opposed to 20% or whatever it is when I'm 59 and a half years old. And then for the custodial services, which is institutional grade custodial service, the same custodial services that again, MicroStrategy and BlackRock have, the same. You're not paying a dime when you send in your crypto. It's pretty good. Now, if you want to take it out, it's 1%. But is it worth it to you? Maybe it's not. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't need that stuff. That's cool. That's what makes the world go round. For me, I just, like I said before, I'm not going to be that guy who's like, yeah, it was a bad day. I was not thinking straight. I just got over the flu. Somebody contacted me. I didn't really know what was going on. And I sent him all this stuff. My crypto's gone. I'm not doing that. If I lose something, hopefully it's only 10, 20% out of, or 5% out of one of my ledgers or tangems. At least I got a big chunk in the custodial services. Nah, let's see. Manbrick is, I answer saying a phrase in Vietnamese I learned in grade school. It isn't very nice. I think it was my former employer. That's the way to do it right there. Blow the whistle hard on the phone if you identify a scammer. I should. You know what I should have said when they contacted me? Hello, is Robbie Wolf? I should have said, no, you have the wrong phone number. That's what I should have said. And then they're like, oh. But they'll probably just call back because they're like, this guy's full of it. We know it's him because we got his information from Coinbase. Which another thing is, I will remind you that Coinbase said that data breach that they were a part of was only 4.1%, and they contacted all those people that were affected. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because first of all, you didn't disclose that until weeks after it happened, and the only reason that you had to disclose it is because your filings with the SEC. I guess there's some stipulations that you have to notify all these customers, which makes sense. And I didn't get a call. I didn't get an email. I get nothing. And yet I still get a bunch of messages and phone calls who know my name and my phone number. I don't know. Kind of crazy. Scammers are still going after our crypto is bullshit. Could be true. Ulysses says, we need to have proof of reserves for the companies that are buying. The math doesn't make sense. We should be above 250K for Bitcoin. Yeah, remember though, there's this, we talked about this yesterday, as far as the derivatives market, which is, futures and swaps and stuff like that. That's all paper Bitcoin or paper crypto. And it's like 4 or 5x of what the spot market is. So you got all these different players, just essentially a sophisticated gambling, and they're just gambling on paper. So all that money that they're like, oh, I think Bitcoin's going to do this, I think it's going to do that, I'm going to short, I'm going to long it. All that money I feel should be in spot. And if we had all that money in spot, yeah, Bitcoin would be 250K. It's not. And then of course, like we talked about yesterday, miners, they have to sell. They have to sell to keep the lights on. And then of course you got retail, which 93% are in the money, 5% are at the money, and there's like a couple of people that are out of the money because they bought at 111,000, which I did myself because I've been buying for the last, I don't know how many years every day. Let's see. I will say, I don't have to go there. You have reached Roberto Lobo. That's it. They'll figure it out though. Scammer charts now, please. They made a lot of money, I'll tell you that. Grok is the best part of Vax. It is pretty awesome. That's why there is Scammer Payback, which is a great YouTube channel, great different social media platform. Just send him a tip and he will hunt them down. Wow, check his YouTube channel. Good guy. I like what he does. Let's see. Where Dog Strike says, who has Proton? I believe Meme has Proton, the email service. Meme, if you could be so kind, put in the comments why you like Proton so much as far as an email provider. Peter says, hey, Rob renovated the pool area. That's nice. Why someone has been dumping alts. Well, how much reapplication do you think there will be with the Bitcoin treasury companies? Well, they're not. The Bitcoin treasury companies are supposed to keep it on balance sheets. And they're supposed to, if they're a publicly listed company, then they have to register with the SEC or whatever the governing organization is, wherever they're at, which is mostly, well, there is some companies in Hong Kong. That is true. But they're not supposed to rehypothecate. But if that happens, I'm sure there's a lot of sleuths that will let us know. My big worry is the banks. When the banks get in this and they're able to custody our digital assets, how much rehypothecation is going to happen with that? Because that's essentially what Celsius did, and that's where everything got derailed. It was them, it was FTX, it was Three Arrows Capital, and it was Voyager trying to keep up with all of that screwed everything up. So rehypothecation is the devil. But it works for dollars, so that's a good point. Benny's recommendation. Benny's doing good work. I will want to buy a Lifeguard is Not Your Dad t-shirt. T-shirt's coming. The Beekeeper is a good movie. That's who we need. Jason Statham, just to go in there and start. I remember that opening scene where he goes and he finds the scammers and he blows up the whole place. That'd been great. Careful with these scammers because they are trolling for your data. They call you. That's how they ping your location to get your address, phone number extra. Best is not the answer at all. Yeah, probably so. Well, it's not like they don't have my address. I'm sure they do. Did I ever tell you the story about the Bitcoin conference? I was there talking with some friends that I work with in the crypto space. And one of them, the CEO, told me, he's like, yeah, he goes, I keep getting these emails. And they're saying, hey, we know we want you to send us, I think it was like $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. And in the email, they put his name, his date of birth, his address, and then they put their Bitcoin public address. And then on the email, they attach a picture of his house. And I was like, where do they get that? He said, oh, they just use Google Maps, and that's the same image on Google Maps of my house. I was like, well, how do they know that? And we were drinking, and he's like, took a big swig, and he's like, yeah, effing Coinbase. And that was it. Yeah, it sucks, man. Oh, got sats. Says, hey, Rob, if you were transferring your Bitcoin to iTRUST, can you take them back out in kind, or do you have to cash out? You have to cash out. And when I first heard this, I'm like, well, that sucks. I just want my Bitcoin. And they go, well, if we do that and the Bitcoin, then you could call us up and you could have a gun to your head. And you could say, hey, release my Bitcoin. That could go to the person, right? We don't do that. It has to be cash. So even if it's like somebody breaks in, gun to the head, they say, okay, well, now cash it out, send it to my bank. Now I have to go to my bank. It just makes more steps for them and much more difficult. They could still do it. They could still say, okay, we got your wife, and we're going to blow her head off. You're going to go to the bank. You're going to take that money, and you're going to send it to our bank account. First of all, that'd be stupid for them to do that, because then they could track the bank account. Or they could say, okay, we're going to blow your wife's head off. Boy, I hope nobody clips this video. We're going to blow your wife's head off, and then you're going to go to the bank. You're going to get out however many hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're going to give it to us. Well, good luck, because no bank has $100,000 just laying around. Even at $10,000, they won't. It's going to take forever. So yeah, that's why. And Jared said, he goes, yeah, people said the banks suck, and it's true. He said, but this bug actually becomes a feature. And of course, we can only go to your bank account, whoever signs up for the custodial services. You can't just say, hey, send this to whoever's account. It has to be your account. Oh, okay. The world is a scary place. Yes, that's true. Yeah. Bank can help you get your money back. You can't with crypto. That's true. They can freeze accounts. They can move things. They can reverse transactions. It's true. You can't reverse a transaction on Bitcoin. That's just how it is. But you can do it on USDC and Tether, apparently. I don't know about the reversing, but they can freeze accounts. Yeah, Chris says, yeah, stay strapped or have an executive protection team. Look, none of us here are Michael Saylor. We're not going to have a security detail coming around. Well, maybe you do, but usually not. And I'm not going to live behind that shroud. So this is it. Got sats, but you're only sending a portion of your Bitcoin, not the whole shebang. It's how much you want to sell and take out. Like, let's say you've got sats. Let's say you've got one Bitcoin, and you're like, you know what? I want to sell 0.10. Okay, we're going to sell 0.10. You have 0.9. It's still being custodied by Coinbase Prime. And we're going to sell that. Here's your 11,000 whatever dollars it is. It goes to your bank. That's it. So yeah. Let's see. And I think that's it. First of all, what a great image for Demon Dogs. I subscribed. I guess I am ready. And that's it. That's it. That's it for today. So 30 minutes. It was just kind of like an overview of like, you know, first of all, it was not so much about, you know, you don't have to pick everything perfectly, just diversify a little bit. And to me, I think I'll be layering in a little bit more to say stocks that are crypto related, but I'll still be doing the same thing, which is dollar cost averaging Bitcoin every day, dollar cost averaging some specific alts that I like. I have started to pick up Ethereum. I think it might have some room to run. Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, stuff like that. But that's every so often. But the main thing is Bitcoin still because it has less downside. That's it for today. Like today's video, thumbs up, subscribe, all that great stuff. Thanks so much for stopping by. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios.